Hello, everyone. Welcome for
Hello.
this new webinar. Hello, Yann. Thanks to
Hello.
have you with us for this
Thank you.
webinar.
Thank you. Hello all.
So today we're gonna be spending a little bit of time going into a new topic. We've got participants from all around Asia and Europe, and Middle East as well. So that's a fantastic audience today. And for this webinar this time, we wanted to come back on a topic that has been at the heart of our day-to-day activities for the past few years. We've been through a number of challenges, crises, situation, and so on. And we've been talking a lot about supply chain resilience. But at the end of the day, it's because we've got people that are resilient, that we have supply chain that are resilient. And Yann was working for Volvo, was as part of a discussion we had a few months ago, said, I'd be really willing to share some of our experience on this topic. So here we are today. Great to be with all of you and to be sharing on this topic. I will let Yann go through the content, and different points. We'll get into more into a conversation mode on the different elements. So welcome and happy to be here.
Thanks, me too, Hervé, and thank you for the introduction. And also, if you have any question, please use the chat. We have two EIPM members who are looking at the chat in the background, so don't hesitate to do that. So I will share my screen now. Let's see if it works. And it works, but it's sharing my mailbox. It's maybe not the best thing, but now here we are. So do you see it?
Yes, we do.
Okay, good. All right. So we start now, and I will start with a short introduction of myself, so you know who's speaking to you. So I'm still working for Volvo Group, and part of the Volvo Group, which is called Volvo Construction Equipment. You can see on the picture that we do excavators, haulers, wheel loaders, compactors, and loaders also, and articulated haulers. A lot of machines that are used everywhere in the world. It's a big group, the Volvo Group. It's about $40 billion. And Volvo Construction Equipment, which is part of it, is $10 billion, let's say, to give you a scale. I've been working for two companies you see on the right side, the Legenvre Group for 13 years and the Volvo Group since 13 years. I'm a French national. I worked 6 years in France. Then in 2004, I left for China to start up a new location and take over purchasing. And since 2011, I changed from Legenvre Group to Volvo Group. And I joined the previous Volvo Construction Equipment headquarters in Brussels. Then we moved in 2016 to Sweden, sorry. I have a double education, one in engineering, and then I complemented it with an education and master in finance. And then I started in purchasing from scratch. So obviously it looks like I like it. I'm still in purchasing. And as I said before, two companies. I have been leading international teams since 1998. I was quite fastly promoted to manager, and I was also as an international and project and commodity buyer from scratch. So to explain to you that I was also leading the European purchasing, then the Asia, and now I'm in a global position. The current scope of what we manage with my team is $2.2 billion of spend. And it's a network of 100 colleagues, roughly. 66 of our colleagues are in my organization, and we use the strengths and the competencies of teams who are not reporting to me, but are located in different regions. The categories or the commodities that we cover with my team are all new technology and current technologies that we call global. So if you look at the machine, you take away the cab, take away the sheet metal, take away paint, take away plastics and electrical. All the rest of the machine is managed by my team and I. And on top of it, there's also in my organization a global aftermarket coordination work on aftermarket purchasing and service and solution purchasing also. And then the legal part of purchasing is under my responsibility. And I report to the CPO of Volvo Construction Equipment, who is part of the board of Volvo Construction Equipment. So my email, and then you may I've seen some of the LinkedIn posts before, obviously, as you joined this webinar. So the purpose of the webinar today is to share my view and prepare you as leaders in thinking in a different way about how human capabilities are able to solve complex supply chain issues. So we will talk about tools, methods, how to manage weak signals of coming disruptions, but also essentially all of this based on human capabilities. And this is in the title of the webinar is about human capabilities and competencies, resilience, experience to manage disruptions. And we will also cover company culture and governance to support the above. So that's the objectives, and let's start then. So yeah, it starts with a journey, obviously, and if you talked a little bit about it, Hervé, we went through quite a chaotic situation. We went through a lot of disruption, and I like to do the parallel with the roads. So you see that may look chaotic. Actually, it's not fully chaotic. It's organized, but what a journey we went through in terms of supply chain. And the question is, what's next? And what's next, if we continue with the parallel with roads, there's different scenarios. So is it going to be like this? I mean, quite easy to ride, fast pace, no real change. Or is the supply chain and our job is going to be like this, a little bit right and left and down? How is it going to be? Is it going to be a little bit of both? A mix of complexity, a mix of straightforward, or is it going to be much rougher, different levels, so things we cannot see at the end of the corner, or are we back to the roots? So this is really the question on how is going to be the supply chain, how is going to be our work as purchasers or supply chain members. So what is the answer to that? I think the answer is that we don't know. We actually don't know how it's going to look like. And that is the thing that we know, is that what we know is that there will be some change. And most probably, the change is going to look like this road. And this is a quiz by the end of the webinar. So please look at this road. And by the end of the webinar, if anyone has the answer, where is this road, then I will be interested to get it in the chat. And no cheating, right? So just guess. But you see how it is. This most probably supply chain, the future of supply chain, the future of supply, the future of purchasing, and how we are going to have to manage the supply from the different partners that we have is going to be like this. It's ups and down, it's right and left, it's structured, but maybe not so structured and so on. So if we want to manage this, what shall we do then? And then the answer is quite easy, I would say. So, and it's something that you're all used to do, is to plan. So just let's plan. And now we're going to do an exercise with maybe you don't know, is to build a risk matrix. So actually, I think, yeah, it's 10:10, Hervé. So we still have 50 minutes to do this risk matrix, right?
First time we ever do that.
Yeah, perfect. So everybody's motivated. So we're gonna do this risk matrix. So you know how it works. You have the severity on one scale, and then you have the probability of the risk. This is based on mathematics also, and then you identify what risk you want to do. So it's kind of workshop we're going to do for the next 15 minutes.
And top management, they want to see some green, huh?
Yeah. So So of course, the corrective actions are going to be coming from the top right to the bottom left, if we can, when we are efficient as a team. But okay, that was a little bit of a joke. So to continue to be very serious, we should, I think, refer to the famous American philosopher that maybe some of you know. Mike Tyson is a fantastic philosopher, and he said something very true. And maybe some of you know this sentence, but he said, everybody has a plan until he gets punched in his face. And this is true. The sentence is true, and it is true that he said that. But actually, that's where I want to articulate a little bit the next slides. We talked about this before, that there's some things that will come that we cannot foresee. And so having a plan is maybe good, but actually is not enough. So, because most probably your plan is not going to be relevant when the problem happens. And we know that it has been the case in the recent 4 years. So what is important is that, yes, there is a certain level of planning, but at the same time, there is an approach, it's prepared. There is a foundation that is going to make you as a company resilient, that's going to make the company resilient and the supply chain resilient to whatever is going to happen. That is unpredictable, unplanned, sudden, or radical. And of course, it's to manage threats, but it's also to grab opportunities. So what we call the punch, if you want to have a parallel to what we've seen with the philosopher, is actually and is the unmanaged or unplanned event that will come. So the business is here, and then there's a punch coming. So let's do a short exercise now. So you remember this person, and you just imagine you're on the ring in front of this nice person, and then something's going to happen. So please consider you're in front, and then put yourself in the situation that happens now. So you're ready, and you try to analyze later on what happened. You're ready? Bang. Okay, so we'll come back. Ready? Bang. So what did we just experience? Once again, bang. That is exactly what happens in a company. You're ready, you're planning, you're in front of the market, the opportunity, bang, something happens. So now let's analyze a little bit, because I do a parallel on how a company is reacting to that and how people are reacting to that. So what I will present now, the fundamental of this is the continuous improvement approach. It means that we act, we plan, we act, we check that what we do is great, and then we continuously improve on the actions that we've done, and we standardize. So that's the basic of the continuous improvement that you can also read in some very interesting book on lean. So the first thing for us when we were on the ring is that we detected the signal, right? The signal is, well, we're alert, we know something's going to happen, the person is in the ring in front of us, and suddenly you see something coming, right? And this is the same in business. So you see something coming. It's an important step. Then the second one is the decision that your brain and you as a business going to take related to what is going to come. And finally, the action means that you detected, you decided, and then you act. So you act by counter, you act by esquive in French. Sorry, I don't know what it is in avoiding. You act by going forward, going backward, whatever. So that's exactly the same in business. So what I will articulate now is how do you do the parallel between in real life what is happening and what is in this example and what is happening in the business then. So important is, we talked about it in the introduction, is to detect, to be able to understand what's going on and to have the signal and weak signal as fast as possible, to have the means to see, to hear and analyze and then process the information that we get. when the information is processed, then we have the use of the output of the first part here, number one, to analyze and then take a decision. And when the decision is taken, of course, what is important is that we are able to act and to have the means to act. So to have the brain, to have the courage, to have the means, financial means, or whatever means you need to do to be able to act. So, and if we think about we as members of the organization in purchasing, supply chain, wherever you are, these are business functions. How do we equip ourselves to manage the situation, the unpredictable situation, what is not planned that is coming, or the punch in that case? So
maybe I can just react quickly. Yeah? You know, we had this kind of joke about the risk metrics, and I'm sure many of you, have been doing and keep doing some of these metrics. So why do we challenge that? I mean, we just talked about the overall process, which is to detect, decide, and act. And one of the very important points related to the risk metrics is the time. The time dimension, the time it takes to detect that something is happening, and this is going to change the deal for us. The time it takes to decide and the time it takes to act, they have a profound impact on a profound change on the impact. If we are very slow, then the impact of the risk can be huge. If we are very fast, the impact of a risk is going to be much lower. So that's what makes the risk metrics a little bit like a very theoretical exercise, because the impact we measure are kind of, taken for granted that we would, identify the issue and turn that into a good reaction very quickly. And that's not always the case. And that's where the difference is. It's not so much in the mapping of the risk, but our ability to, do exactly what Yann has been presenting us. So that's why we dare to challenge this ISO, I don't remember which 1000 framework for risk management here.
Thanks, Hervé. It's very important. And as the topic of the presentation is indeed, it's not that we don't want to do it, but you need to complement it with the ability to be agile when the events are coming. And as you said, time frame is of course making a difference between the planning and the event that is unpredictable coming to us. So, we are as human beings, as teams, everything is based on the decisions that we take, the knowledge that we have and the experience we have. We have toolkits and tools and methods that are available for us. And here we talk about every professional that we are in our teams. And one important thing is, of course, the way we collaborate among us, the courage that we have to take decision, the courage we have to go forward, the courage we have to stop things also. And then, of course, all of this is packed into a very important thing that is the values. So the culture that the company has around what are the priorities, what are the ethics, what are the respect to each other, what are the trust that we have among each other, what is the trust that we have, what is the level of trust we have with our leadership, with our colleagues, with our members. All of this is a fantastic base. My perspective is a fantastic base to be able to react to unpredictable events. So if we come back to the 4 steps or the 3 steps, which is we can put detect and process together and then decide and act based on trust value, continuous improvement, collaboration. What would it be? Now, the part of this presentation is going to be a bit more details about each of them so that you get some kind of sense and recipes, and we can illustrate them with examples. So of course, Hervé is gonna be able also to bring some of the good example that he has in his experience, and I'm also able to complement. So how do we detect actually? So you have different ways. So when we say detect, again, as a reminder, is detect that there is a signal telling us that something's going to happen. And it's very important to have this signal in a competitive market. You need to have those signals before the other ones. That is a fantastic start. If you here see, understand, and have detection tools and systems or partnership capabilities, because again, we are in the middle of an ecosystem. And if you have one of your partner, a supplier, for example, with who you're really well connected, actually sees in his own supply chain that there is a signal that something is starting to be weak, and you get this signal before the other customer that they have, that's a fantastic competitive advantage. And it is really based on the relationship you have with your suppliers. Then what is important is to have an understanding about how do you define the inputs that you really want to have as a detection, and what you're going to do with the signal. When you detect, you have a lot of noise, because you could have a detection of any kind of inputs. And then you need to be able to understand, okay, how do I clarify the noise of information I get, and what information I need to distribute where. And one very important thing to say here that I really want to emphasize again, we need to be in the business. So buyers who are not as suppliers, this is not a good way to hear weak signals and detect that there is something wrong or something that is an issue. Hervé, do you want to add something?
There's plenty of things we could say. You know, one of my favorite thing is, you know, how we sure that we have the relationship with the supplier. So if there's something wrong, they will call us first, and they will dare to tell us the truth. You know? So quality of relationship is not something like, you know, purely based on how much money they make with us and how much, you know, dependency we have on them. The quality of relationship and the moment of truth is really when people pick the phone and they call us before the other, because they believe that we are the client. That's important to inform first. So how do we get that? By, you know, by the quality of the relationship at the individual level, and many elements like this. There's also some very opaque market. If you're buying cacao in the middle of the world, you need to have people on the ground, you know, not just people into space taking picture from satellite, but people on the ground. You can call on a regular basis. Maybe not people from the supplier, but other people that can tell you in advance what are the shifts, what are the discussions that are coming up. And then you can have ways of turning this into something like an automatic alert system. One of my MBA students years ago said, what I've done is I've put a system when suppliers keep changing the dates of delivery, and they do that more than usual, suddenly there's a little flag coming up. We don't know why they do that, but we know that something is cooking within their organization that push them to replan some of the delivery to our site. So, you know, this can be both a matter of value and values, but it can also be a matter of, you know, understanding for each major supplier or risk, understanding what could be the, you know, the right person or the right tool to raise some flag at the right time.
Yeah. Thanks. So, yeah. Be in the business. This is where you detect the weak signals. Visiting plants, you know, whoever is visiting the plant of the supplier will see, oh, there's a little bit more stock here. There's a little bit of things waiting at the incoming inspection. There's a little bit of scrap. All of those are signals. And then this is, of course, based on the expertise of the team members and the trust that we have in getting this feedback from the team members. How do we process information? Because as I said before, you may have a lot of noise and a lot of input. So here are some advice. Information needs to be synchronized or interconnected and organized. Otherwise, you may have one department that is having certain information that may be relevant for you. So the sales team, for example, may have an information that they see some perturbation in the ordering, or the stock is starting to actually increase. And that may be very important for you as a supply chain professional to know this information, because you know it's going to, most probably, you are going to cut orders quite sudden, and it's going to perturbate the whole supply chain. On and off supply chain don't work that much. We know that. And it's the same for us when our suppliers cutting, starting again, it's also difficult for us to manage in our plants. Then the information processing should be inclusive. It means that you cannot really restrict all types of information you need to have. You need to actually get as diverse as possible, make it simple to process, and audit it for improvement. So your processing, or the process that you use in order to manage the information, is a process like any other process, need to be audited and need to be constantly improved so that it becomes simple information you can actually use. So if you want to know more about this, of course, you can go into how do we manage data, what is that data scientist, what is a business officer working with data, what are the skills that you need for that. But it's of course very interesting to dive in. And the last one is about the process that you have to manage the information need to be modular, adaptive, and updated. Because you may have some situation where you have an existing system, how you manage the information, that becomes completely irrelevant in the case of a not planned event. So obviously you need to be able to take away some of those modules, put some additional modules, adapt the process so that it stays compliant, but at the same time, it's adapted to the situation. Any points you would like to make, Hervé, on this one?
Yeah, maybe, I was laughing a little bit about, and top management always wants to see some green on the risk matrix. And I think that's something I've heard in many companies over the past year. So, well, suddenly something has been happening, and top management is expecting to see on a regular basis some information about the situation. We will be impacted by inflation. We will be impacted by, what's happening between Russia and Ukraine. And then there's a process of very quickly setting up some new reporting structure that's really established sometime on very unsolid ground. So people believe that at every level of the organization, suddenly we've created some cost structure. We've created very, very structured inflation cost models with price models with the inflation impact of it. The reality is everybody's been rushed to do something in 2 weeks. And as soon as we bring a lot of red flag and orange flag, the message backs down is, no, we need to get back to the green. So very important is to first, of course, we need to have this synchronized, interconnected system, but we need to make sure that we can quickly bring them to a level of I would say, reliability that's decent, and that we have the right conversation. These are not just facts. There's also the context and all the elements that we need to consider. We can quickly occupy an army of people filling in some templates and forms to provide information that has very little value. But it's important to take the time to build and to keep. What I've seen is, back in 2013, a lot of companies had invested in building some very good risk management tool that informed them. And then when the time was better, suddenly, we leave that on the side, we forget about them, and we don't, maintain them to the good level of quality. The result is, when trouble comes, everything has disappeared, and people are new. They need to reinvent the wheel, and we've lost everything. The company that have been winning the Peter Krajic Award Prize are companies that have never ceased to invest in this detection system, in this risk management system. It's part of everyday need to improve, not just during bad times.
Yeah. Excellent, thank you. And then it's indeed, now we discussed about detecting and processing. How do we actually take decisions? And as I said before at the introduction, very important to have decision based on value, principle, and the culture of the company, because that gives a lot of autonomy. When all employees know what are the priorities, what is the vision, what are the values of the company, what are the principles that we need to follow, what is the culture, the way we work together, then it gives normally, and it gives in my company at least, the autonomy to decide. Because I know the frame of what is value, principle, culture, then I'm able to have some autonomy to decide. I have the trust, I trust my colleagues, I have the trust for my colleague, and then I can decide. I have a company that is about, is that good enough? Then I can decide. If it is about perfection, then, I'm going to hesitate so many times before I decide because I want to make things perfect. And I know that's the pressure that I have. Then I'm going to be not able to decide in the right time because it's all about speed and the proper frame of decision and what is surrounding the decision. And what is important is, yes, indeed, it's not because there is an urgency, it's not because we are in a really big mess that we can compromise on the compliance. So if you have a selection process on supplier and the selection process is long, you cannot deviate from the compliance. Means that someone decide, we go this supplier and it's one person show. That's not allowed. If you have a problem with the process, then work on the process to optimize it so that it fits to the situation as soon as possible. But don't deviate. If you deviate, then you need to understand deviation is recorded, it's checked in compliance by the compliance officers, and then you carry on. And of course, all of this is based on competencies and expertise. So who has the autonomy to decide are the ones who know the best the topic. And that's why, back to your comment, Hervé, things that go top down, you enter into a problem of you centralize the decision and then you create reporting, but actually the ones who are the best to decide are the ones who have the topic knowledge. And most of the time, it's not me, it's not you, it's the team and the people who work on the topic. So if you start to have a top-down organization, most probably you're going to lose time and you're going to ask people who don't know the topic to decide instead of the ones who know the topic. And this is all back to the structure and the governance that you have in your organization. Are you a top-down company? Do you give autonomy to the one who manages the business?
Yeah, I think it's it's really important, these elements. When some scientists have been studying the organization that have faced a lot of unprepared situation, whether this is emergency services, whether this is firefighters, whether this is some people on theaters, military action. And what works in this organization is to leave the autonomy, the empowerment for the people that are on the front line to react, take some decisions, limit the number of things that gets escalated every day to what's really important in terms of deviation to current practice or budget requirements, but making sure that we have that autonomy on the front line so things do not get over-escalated and they're handled locally in a very good way. And of course, we remain all accountable for our decisions and believing that we can bury under the carpet some of the actions that we take to recover from a situation, changing the number of the parts in a system so we get the one from the neighbor or something like that. I've seen that many times. Yes, that's a quick fix, but that creates more trouble for tomorrow. And, the systems we have today create the transparency that we're sure that this is going to be visible at some point. So let's work with a good and sound ethical perspective, even in times of crisis.
Yeah. Don't compromise the future because you have a quick fix. That's very important. So here I can give you an example also about how autonomy has been very successful for us in our purchasing organization. So when the electronic crisis came, actually there was, all the plants were shutting down. The trend was that, there's no supplier. This was during the COVID. And then just after the plant started to reopen, one of my team members came and said, I feel there's something that is going to happen in the electronic side. And it was in May, I think it was 2019, I think. And it was really not the right timing because, we have a process in place. Nobody's thinking about that. But the person knows the electronic market, came to us and came to me and said, Yann, I think we need to put something in place. Either we ask our suppliers to start booking components or we need to put something in place. Okay, let's look at this. In 15 days, we decided that we would put a specific process. We check with the compliance officer. Can we take decision to go into the spot market? First, can we take decision that we ask our suppliers to pre-book some components for us? We talk about the electronic components. Can we actually start to look at spot market or be ready to look at the spot market? Can we have the budget? And this is where we will come later on about the means. And what is the process we put in place? A shortcut process, but under the compliance. So it's compliant. It's seen by the financial policies of the Volvo Group. It's agreed by the financial person. And then we have several stakeholders in the decision to set up a speedy process, and that avoiding us to stop any factory because of electronic components. It's based on trust, it's based on feedback, it's based on autonomy, and it has been based on knowledge of one person, that also equipped itself with a team, a task force team that we created already 2019, and a certain process to support the decision and the autonomy. And once again, we didn't stop any factory of Volvo construction equipment thanks to these decisions. So it's.
And I think if I can add, the importance of our market knowledge, and the time we spend listening to what's happening on the market. It's easy to discard some signals, but look at what happened in the shipping business. 2017, we had two major South Korean companies in the shipping business that went bankrupt. So this was clearly a signal that investment would be going down. The cycle was going down. Understanding cycle is very important. Crises accelerate cycles. They're not creating cycles by themselves. If you look at semiconductors, when did Google started to design its own semiconductors in order to avoid the dependency on a company like NVIDIA for AI? That's back to 2015. When did Amazon and Microsoft started to do that? That's back in 2019. The signals on the market are there. There's very often bigger companies than us that are reacting also earlier than us. So we need to, when we look at our markets, we need to listen to the periphery as much and to the, what sounds a bit strange, not just, that's what's reassuring for the next tender we're putting on the market. Signals are often there.
Yeah, and especially if they're strange, actually, I would say. If the signal is strange, then I would pay more attention to them. That's the way to differentiate from the competition. That's the way to be one step ahead. Okay, maybe that's the wrong signal, but so what? Then we have some others to look at. And then it was about, I touched on it with this particular example. It's about how you actually act later on. How do you validate the processes and the means that you will have to put in place when the unforeseen event is going to come? Because if you're not ready with this, then you're going to lose time. So that's what I say. There's some planning and there is an approach to define before you go on. And that's the approach that we are going through now. And the activity or the action, you need to prepare that. It's based on knowledge, it's based on the culture, it's based on the governance, it's based on the means that you're going to put in place. For the electronic components I was talking about, we put a task force in place. And at the same time, we said, okay, any decision that is less than 1 million, then I can decide together with this person and this person. 3% can decide. Spot market. Okay, We rely on the person. Is this price reasonable? Of course not. It's not reasonable because you had some components of 20 cents that become $100. But is there something better in the market than you trust? No, there's not. And that's the only way we can get something. Okay, how many? How much? Are you okay with that? Yes, we do it. 24 hours. And then we go on the spot market. And that's what you need to put in place so that when the urgency comes, you're able to act. And of course, when you act, you support it. You don't act on your own. You act with a team. And so it's a team success and it's a team failure. And then we learn from the failure and we improve. And that's the continuous improvement process. That's the lean approach. That's the characteristic of human beings and employees that are actually performing are the ones who constantly improve, look at improvement, look at deviations. And that's the red part we are talking about. Actually, we want to have reds. Why? Because when you have a red, there is a signal that something is deviating. And then you can act. If everything is green, most probably this is not true. And secondly, you don't see the signals because it's green. So it's very important to have some detection that tells you this. We call that endom, I think, in operations for the ones who are in the manufacturing industry. And that is the raising the hand. There is an issue here, and you need to be ready to listen to that. So, as I said, if I summarize a little bit what is behind what we talked about, I think we touched it verbally, but here is a little bit of a summary written. So in the detection phase, you see here some characteristic of human characteristic that are important to actually be able to detect. And as we said, be in the business. It's not in the tower or of the headquarters that you're going to be able to detect the signals. It's on the field. It's together with your ecosystem. The processing, we talked about it. It's very important to, of course, have this connectivity with the other department and the other colleagues. So it's all about relationship within the colleagues. How do you collaborate with sales? How do you collaborate with manufacturing? What kind of systems you have in place that are common or that are scalable? Which ones are adaptable? The decision is all about value, trust, courage, the leadership, the governance you have in your organization. And then you have the action that is about anticipation, collaboration, having the courage, the managerial courage, but also the trust that you can act as good as possible, not perfect. Because perfect, as you know, is the enemy of good. I know it's an easy sentence, but this is true. If you want to be perfect, then you postpone your decision. And there's one thing that is not possible, is not to decide. To decide and to be wrong, that's okay. To decide to be good, that's okay. Not to decide is not an option. So that's
I think it's very important to,
yeah.
if I can say something, Yann, is it's very easy to challenge the person that bring the message we don't want to hear. What we need to challenge is our assumptions, not the people that bring, the message that there's something wrong cooking somewhere. What's important is every time to look back, we've got some decisions related to our category strategies. We've got decisions related to major supplier selection. That information, what does it mean in relation to the assumptions I've made to that event? What's the impact related to the assumption I've made when we took that decisions? So it's resurfacing, the assumptions behind the decision that we had and understanding if there's an impact, not shooting the messenger that count. So challenging, yes, but challenging our assumptions, not just challenging messengers.
Yeah, fantastic. This is about the culture. And really it's about the kind of leadership culture you have in your organization. And we can come back to some of the important things that are culturally really a lever in the organization. It's about the feedback. You talked about, challenge the assumption. It's the same as how do you welcome the feedback? How do you understand the feedback? What kind of space you give to the feedback? Because feedback is the most important things you can get. Feedback from the supply chain, feedback from the employees, feedback from your colleagues and peers. This is where you get the input that is necessary for the business. And then all of this based on trust, of course. So those are very important human characteristics. And once again, if we come back to the whole thing, it was about that, right? I come back to this one. It was about the human characteristics and the behaviors that we have as individual, as teams, as colleagues, as ecosystem colleagues, because you have the society around you, you have the education. We work with university, we work with training partners, we work with the society, we work with the supply chain, we work with our customers. How do you detect anything? And then the decision process that is on the right side. What kind of decision culture you have, how you take decision, what kind of decision makers are in the company, who is taking the decision. As we said before, the ones who need to take decision need to have a frame of understanding what is good for the business. And this is why education, complete understanding 360-degree ups and down of the business is very important, because then you enable the ones who have the decision in their hands, who are able to actually understand what's going on and then decide, you enable them to do this decision. And then what is supporting the action? And we talked about means, courage, leadership capabilities, trust, collaboration with the team. So that was the three parts, which are made, as I said in the introduction. You have some tools, methods to support all of this, but my point is that you can put all of this in perspective. That this is not the tools. These are the people who are going to recommend the tools, who are going to use the tools so that it makes really a difference in the detection process and the decision and the action. So it's all about us, basically. And that's really the message for today. So,
and Yann, you said something to me, I think that was important when we had the discussion on preparation, which is about, you had situation where you had to take people out of the front line because they were getting burned.
Yeah. Thanks, Hervé. Touch my heart a little bit. It's a difficult situation. The people who are managing the electronic crisis, and some of you have been into this. This was just nightmare, right? So you would have your part somewhere, and you have the factory stopped. You need this particular component, and then you have the component is here. Someone tells you, oh, it's here, that's the price. We go with the decision. Sorry, it's gone. Half an hour after, your stock is up again. Half an hour after, then there's no more parts. Those parts disappeared. This was the crisis where we were. And it is every day, every minute. And when you have someone who is in charge of that, extremely capable, very resilient, but after 3 to 6 months, to be honest, anyone would be burned. We had a discussion with the person, and we could feel this is too much. We actually asked the person, we proposed the person to do something else, more working on the midterm, long term, because we could feel that there was, you need to be close to the colleagues to feel that there is something going on. The problem is when you are in this situation yourself, you don't see it coming. You don't see that the burnout is coming. So we actually had a dialogue with the person, say, come on, let's do something else. Let's look on the midterm. So you're going to work on obsolescence of the electronics. And the person resisted, but finally went to, because there was no job change. It was just a scope change. It's just, same jobs, no change. It's just focus on something else. And afterwards, the feedback we got was, thank you. Thank you, because I would have never do it on my own. So it was really a dialogue, but at the same time, I have to say, yes, we took the decision. Now it's time. Because it's our responsibility as colleagues, it's our responsibility as a manager. So yeah, that's what I can share with all of you. Pay attention to your colleagues when they get into the fire and the crisis, and that's an important level. You need everyone to feel well in the organization. Otherwise, you lose part of your capabilities. Thanks, Hervé, for bringing this topic. I'm very. I have a lot of emotion with the team in general, so that's nice. So yeah, to summarize, as I said, the road is going to be like this, and then it's a mix of planning, preparation, of course, using the risk matrix and scenarios and so on and backs up and so on, but especially in preparing the team, preparing the approach, as we said before, because there will be this guy coming in, and that's the market, that's your competitor, that's whoever, it could be one of your partner, and again, it's here we talk about, okay, the risk, but it could be also an opportunity. So I did not put a nice person, but we could have put a nice person. Opportunity comes, you need to grab it now. And of course, remember the bank, but it can be a nice bank.
We got an answer on the bridge.
Yeah. Okay, good. Then let's look at it. Where is that?
So that's Pranil, who said this would be the Storseisundet Bridge in Norway.
Even more specific than what I thought. Yeah, it's in Norway. Well done. So you won a clap. Fantastic. I hope it was not cheating, but no, it's great. It's in Norway indeed. So what other, do we have any?
We've got a question.
Questions?
We've got a question about the automotive industry. Keep the motivation of employees high in force majeure. They affect human capabilities. They're affected by the force majeure situation. Their productivity and decision-making abilities may weaken.
I'm not sure I understood fully the question. If you could, I don't see it on the screen.
Maybe I can just react. We've done a study together with some of my academic colleagues from in a university in Bergamo. We've been looking at what happened during the COVID time, and very clearly, when there is, a major crisis, there are people who naturally, will be going into facing the challenge right on the front lines, and they will have the motivation. Others, will prefer to maybe to look back at longer term horizon. So we need to sense in that moment, who are the people that want to go and fight the fires that's coming, which one wants to, are best placed to step back, and we'll be surprised by, some people's ability to do one thing and another. But during that period, what's very important is to multiply the team rituals, is to multiply the moments where we have opportunities to exchange, to think differently, moving away from, the classic way of interacting, once a month on different topic, but finding a totally new set of rituals that are going to help, the team to express. We need a mix of formal things. We need a mix of informal ways of interacting. That's really important. We can believe that everybody's busy. We shouldn't be, annoying anyone. Everybody should be in their lane. No, that's wrong. This is the moment where we need to have some of these rituals, some of these exchange, and we need to change them on a regular basis. So as managers, we need to go back to the team and ask them, what should we stop, start, continue in order to manage the things better on a regular basis, get their feedback, and make some changing on a continuous basis in terms of how we can bring things forward, I think.
I understand now better the question. It's a great question, great answer also. During after, there was a before COVID and after COVID, and most of you've seen the difference. People are a bit far away from the office right now compared to before. And so it means that we have more distance, and it's a little bit more difficult to monitor if someone is feeling well or not. And that's something that needs to be taken into consideration. If you're a leader, a colleague, how are our colleagues going on, especially in a crisis mode? Okay, the crisis is getting a little bit down now. Our volumes are going down, capacity is starting, at least in my industry, capacity is open and so on, but this is still some crisis mode. It's important to be close to each other and support each other and have this. So remote work, okay, a lot of good things, but at the same time, some dangers that we have difficulties to see if our colleagues are going well or not. So that's something to keep in mind. We have another question, Hervé?
No, we don't have any other question. Take the time to have a broad bag meetings, discussions, and reflect from time to time with people in informal ways. if that's one thing to take out of today, for instance, that's a simple action we can do. 30, 40 minutes. We've been going through a lot of challenges. So, what could we do different in the future and have this exchange going on? Good.
Great.
Fantastic. We covered a lot of ground. And I think, what's really important is for me from Yann's message is the balance. So there was a company that used to have a motto, we need to manage by facts, but we need to lead by values. And I think what I'm hearing from Yann is exactly that balance. We can put a lot of facts on the table. We can use facts to bend decisions. We can paralyze an organization with facts. So we need facts, but we need also to have the values, to have the leadership attitude that make the difference. And this is not one over the other. It's really the two interconnected that are really making the difference here.
No, that's the whole purpose of the presentation, is to really share our true belief, because Hervé and I are aligned on that, is that the ones are going to make the difference are the team members, are the colleagues, are us. Because we are actually animals who are able to adapt so well. If you think about 4 years ago, would we think that we would be locked into rooms for months or weeks? That we would be restricted in going away from our home or doing anything outside? We would recover about this? No, nobody would think it would be possible. But we did it. And it's because human beings are really adaptable. And the best thing that we can have in place is to give the autonomy, the trust, and the competencies for the teams to be able to react what is going to happen. When this is unleashed, then you have a system, it's a company and a system, and your partners around that are able to adapt, detect, decide, act. And that is really the what we wanted to demonstrate today, or at least we want to convince you that that's the right thing to invest in is in people, expertise, confidence, experience, and trust.
Thank you, Yann. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. It's been a pleasure again to discuss a topic very important, for the years to come. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, all. Have a good day. Thank you, Hervé.